Welcome back, comic fans. I'm Chor the Max Extreme.
And I'm Ghost Hunter Dave.
And this is part 3 of our Grant Morrison Trinity Trilogy.
Mouthful.
I did it.
Nice work.
So stick with us as we're going to be going over Wonder Woman Earth 1 on today's show. Stick around. It's going to be a great time.
Here we go.
Theme song.
All right. Here we go indeed.
On this episode, we are taking our last stop on Grant Morrison's take on his DC Trinity with Wonder Woman Earth 1.
Yes, we are.
And may I say
Yes.
that this book is amazing looking.
Thank you. I mean, yes, it is.
Easy.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
No small part to the entire creative team involved.
Yeah, Yannick Paquette and Nathan Fairbairn kills it.
Absolutely.
This book is beautiful. How's that wig?
It's hairy.
Getting caught in your stubble.
And I shaved before this, too. I don't normally clean shave.
Oh,
For
well,
this I did. And it's awful.
screwed yourself.
Oh, my God.
Back to the book.
Yes.
But yeah, this book is beautiful. Like, Yannick draws, I think, the most beautiful women in this book that I've seen in a while.
Every page.
Yeah, and everybody looks different. They don't have the same body type. They don't have the same face. They're amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a book that you can see why it took so long to be released, because this is something that we heard about like 2 years ago.
I want to say almost 3 years
Maybe,
ago.
and we've like been waiting to read this.
Yeah.
And as we've said, like, neither of us are big Wonder Woman fans. So it was just Grant Morrison's take on that, and knowing Unique's work, yeah, let's see that.
Yeah.
And it seems like we've been waiting forever for this.
Yeah, it's true. And the artwork paid off in spades, I would say. And I don't know if the holdup was because of the writing or the art, because I know Yannick was doing some New 52 work. He did Swamp Thing as well.
Yeah, with Scott Snyder.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was dynamite.
Yeah.
He's somebody that makes full use of the panels separating the artwork, and he just goes nuts with them. Like, whatever the theme of the story is, like if it's Swamp Thing, it's roots and stuff. If it's this, it's like Greek, I want to say hieroglyphics, but that's not right. But just like the artwork, the shit you'd see on clay pots.
Yeah.
I feel like before we dive too much into this, we should kind of back up a little bit, because in order to fully appreciate what the team has done, you have to kind of know some Wonder Woman history.
Sure.
Of which I didn't know a whole lot in going back and doing, the old-fashioned research via Wikipedia. It like brings a whole new level of understanding and enjoyment out of the story.
Yeah. Wonder Woman was created way back right after Batman and Superman were thrown into the mix in DC Comics in 1941, I believe.
Yeah.
By William Moulton Marston, and he was not in the comic book field at all. In fact, he is known as creating the first lie detector.
Yeah, he was kind of a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
He was a psychologist, I believe, a lawyer, an inventor, lie machine. Lie detector.
Some people call it a lie machine.
I mean, if you've had a couple drinks in you, you can call it whatever you want. And a writer, obviously.
Yeah.
And yeah, he created Wonder Woman along with, it sounds like, the help of the two women in his life.
Yeah.
Which was his wife, Elizabeth Holloway Marston.
Yep.
And his mistress?
Kind of. He had a polyamorous relationship.
Yeah, they were kind of all. It was just a groovy time.
Yeah, and it was kind of when it was taboo as well.
Oh, yeah.
Well, not that it isn't kind of now, but really, when it really was taboo way back when. And so take that into account when you're reading Wonder Woman Earth 1.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's got a little bit of a kinky nature to it at some parts.
It's got some kink.
Yeah, for sure.
William believed that, like, with the dichotomy between sexes, men were just kind of inherently violent by the freedom that they had. You know, this is the 20s, so they ran the household.
Yeah.
And women had kind of an opposing notion to that. They called it the love allure that leads to... This is what Wikipedia says. And I feel like I should state that. An ideal state of submission to loving authority. So there's a lot of that in this book.
Yeah.
And I think people might get the wrong impression if they just read it on face value without doing a little research about what this guy was proposing.
So Wonder Woman Earth 1 takes the origin of Wonder Woman, and Grant Morrison weaves like a tale that also incorporates Marston's life into it as well. And I felt that it was kind of intriguing the way he did that, because not every other origin that has taken place in Wonder Woman, because she's been restarted several times, I think more than almost anybody, and he kind of incorporates kind of every aspect of her creation that's ever been tried.
Yeah.
He does the...
It's kind of the Morrison way of writing, where everything is canon, even real life.
Yeah. And so he does the origin where she's made of clay and the gods give her life. And then later you find out that's maybe not so true. I happen to be a... Let me start over.
Keep going.
I lost a word and where I was going. Okay. I happen to favor, actually, the Wonder Woman made of clay.
Just because it's so goddamn bizarre.
It is bizarre, but it's more different than everything else. But I like the aspect that she is a daughter of both the heavens and the earth. Like, she's made of the earth and the heavens gave her life. And so she can be this, like, heroic figure for both man, woman, and everybody in the world, you know?
Okay. So, one last quote from Willie, creator. It's a little lengthy. I'm going to paraphrase it.
Go ahead.
The only hope for peace is to teach people who are full of pep and unbound force to enjoy being bound. There's more.
Okay.
Only when control of self by others is more pleasant than the unbound assertion of self in relationships can we hope for a stable, peaceful society. Giving to others, being controlled by them, submitting, cannot be enjoyable without strong erotic elements. So that was his pitch on Wonder Woman, apparently, in the 40s.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of, apparently back then, there was a lot of covers, a lot of adventures that involved her being bound and submissive. Yeah,
a lot of the her first adventures, I think through the Marston years, I think she was bound almost in every single issue. Which almost...
You gotta go with what works.
She likes... let's go to the bondage aspect of this.
Let's make this more awkward.
Let's tie you up really quick.
Yeah, for the promos.
If I could be blunt, I didn't really like the bondage aspects of this.
No?
No, I didn't.
Really?
I got what Morrison was doing, and I felt that what he added to this with the bondage... And even like it's a hinted to at like an orgy.
Yeah.
I felt like it was unnecessary.
I had no problem with it.
It was just a critique I have. Maybe not everyone has to agree with me, but
It was very... Well, the bondage... No, the whole thing was kind of hinted at.
Yeah.
They didn't go full on, like...
Well, at one point, Wonder Woman has a spiked collar for somebody. And I was like, okay. Like, easy.
Yeah.
Like, that's the part that I was like, alright. Like, I don't... Like, I'm fine if that's what you're into, but I don't need that in a Wonder Woman book. Because, for me, if you're going to be, like, empowering towards women, like, I feel like bondage has, like, a negative aspect towards women.
This is a rant.
It is a rant. So
this will go in our Imperious rant section, which there is one. There's 2. Now 3.
I don't feel like it belongs in a Wonder Woman book.
Yeah?
I got where he was going, and I understand why it was there. I just don't feel like I want that in a Wonder Woman book.
It was definitely different. Like, it's something that no one has touched for a long time.
Right.
I thought if anyone were to bring it back, of course Grant Morrison would. And I thought it was, like, an interesting facet of the character to explore.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't the Wonder Woman canon. This is the Earth 1 canon,
so
which they can just kind of do whatever they want.
Yeah.
I'm flat out surprised they let Grant Morrison do this.
Yeah.
But at this point, it seems like they just let him do whatever he wants because it sells. And, he's an original thinker.
Yep.
So if there was ever a place to explore the bondage aspect of Wonder Woman, I guess this is it.
Sure.
It's very strange that this is such a mainstream book and it's so prevalent in it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like someone said, you want more bondage in your comics or less bondage? I guess I'm pro bondage.
And let me just throw it out there. It's not like the full bondage that you might see on like some TV shit or whatever. Nobody's wearing like a gimp mask or anything like that.
No, it's not like 50 Shades of Grey.
It's just like there's a dominant and there's like a submissive, and when they devote each other to each other, one submits to the other one. It's kind of like...
I feel like with some appropriate tagging, this is going to be our most watched video of all time. So... we've kind of talked about the background. There's some elements that have rubbed people the wrong way. There's some elements that have rubbed people the right way.
Yeah.
So it's a divisive book. It's very unique. It's also unique in the fact that there's very little traditional action in it.
Right. Yeah.
She doesn't fight anybody in this book.
No.
She doesn't throw a punch. There's no physical conflict whatsoever.
Mm-mm. So the frame of the story is essentially the trial of Wonder Woman. Because it shows her origin, and she's done something bad, but you can't really tell what it is. And then they put her on trial, and then the rest of the story is kind of like a catch-up until it gets to the end of the trial.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Do you have any critiques of the book?
No, I like no real complaints, but man, there's a lot of complaints on the internet about it from a couple outspoken people. Who I think haven't done the background that we talked about at the beginning. Like, they don't know what he's alluding to.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just surface value like bondage because sex sells.
Right.
Like...
Yeah, it's not a sex thing at all.
No.
Like,
and, like, the women are beautiful. Like, they're not, like, cheesecake art.
Mm-hmm.
It's not over-the-top sexual. They're Amazon princesses. Like, they're all beautiful women.
Mm-hmm.
So... I don't know, like, people critique the art, they critique the sexuality, the bondage elements, they say some of it's, like, misogynistic, they say some of it's, like, the wrong interpretation of feminism, which I've heard that argument, and it's like, the Amazons aren't supposed to be, like, the ideal feminist representation. Wonder Woman is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're saying, like, oh, the feminist, like, he doesn't understand feminism because they're so anti-man, but it's like, that's not the feminist archetype. It's Wonder Woman is your feminist hero in it, not the Amazons that hate men and don't want anything to do with them.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the internet rage is missing the point entirely.
Yeah.
As it usually is.
Yeah. Well, it's either... the internet is never down the middle. It's either you hate it or you love it. Mm-hmm. So, I'm on the fence where I am in the middle, actually. Like...
No, you're not.
Yeah.
You just want to be different.
No. This story didn't really wow me, if I could just be blunt with you.
Please do. If not now, when?
I felt that the story wasn't highly original. It did throw in these aspects that we've just been talking about, but the whole aspect that the Wonder Woman made of clay, but it was actually another origin, was already done in Azzarello's run. This is just things that bother me, because I also have it, like, critiques with this with Black Panther as well. Like,
You read Black Panther?
I know of Black Panther. Like, I know... I actually watched the BET animated Black Panther.
Shit, you do know Black Panther? I'm sorry to doubt your cred.
But, there's these segregated societies that are... like, highly technological, and yet they still somehow live in the past.
Yeah.
So let me just frame it this way. So the Amazons live in this essentially Greek paradise that's like removed from everybody else. And yet they still have this highly technological aspects of their lives. Mm-hmm. And yet some parts of their lives stay rooted strongly 3,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Sure, like, I can totally see technology, they have technology evolving with them or whatever. But it seems like I have this purple ray that can heal everything, I have these invisible ships or whatever. But then we also shoot people with bows and arrows. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, bows and arrows are hot right now. You've seen the Hunger Games.
But that's the one, and I also don't like that with Black Panther. Like, we're this highly technological society, and yet we throw spears at people.
You went the spear route.
I know. I didn't want to say it, but they do. And
no, I get it.
Why don't they have, like, guns?
Well, maybe they just have an affinity for the spear.
No, shut up. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't like the fact that they have, like, jets or anything like that. I hate that aspect.
In Wonder Woman?
Yeah, I never like that fact.
The invisible jet?
Hate it.
It's so dumb.
It is the dumbest thing about Wonder Woman.
It totally looks like a vagina in this. So, take from that what you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Personal critique. That's mine.
But, I mean, that's one of those things where it's like, you're embracing the past, and that's a pretty pivotal element of Wonder Woman. Like, you kind of gotta include it. Like, he spiced it up a bit. He made it look like the female anatomy.
I guess.
So there's that. Also, they're riding, like, the biker scouts are riding, like, flying clams.
Yeah.
Which, that seemed a little on the nose to me. A lot of dome-shaped architecture. Very little phallic shapes.
Yeah.
Very little spires.
Saw a column here or there.
There was one. I saw one. I noted it. A lot of domes.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was up with the purple ray?
I looked up the purple ray.
I did too. and it's just a purple ray.
Apparently
it
it goes way back into Wonder Woman's mythology where, like, there's this purple ray that heals stuff. And when I look back into it, I'm like, I wanted more out of this than just she's always had it.
Just a purple ray.
And I'm like, that sucks!
Yeah.
And apparently she's really good at using it. And I'm like, this is stupid.
That was an opportunity for Grant to, like, put a spin on the purple ray.
Yeah, and
what we got? Just a purple ray.
Purple ray.
It can heal deer, it can heal Steve Trevor. It's a purple ray, folks.
I don't know.
I don't even remember what we left off on. Purple rays?
Yeah.
So, they kept the purple rays the same.
Yeah.
They changed a couple things. For instance, Steve Trevor. Black man now.
Yeah. I actually kind of like that, actually.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah. But it also pays off in a line that he has later. Like, he didn't want to have these people oppressed like the way his ancestors were oppressed. Like, hundreds of years beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm like, yeah.
It gave him, like,
sense.
kind of a reason to be there.
And just that, and the story's not just whitewashed.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Like it has been throughout history.
Yeah. Yep. I liked him a lot in it.
Yeah.
Did you pick up where he walks out of the beach, as he's climbing out the first time you see him, he strikes the, I think it's Venus pose? It's a very famous artwork of, like, the nude woman coming out
Venus
of
in the clamshell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I didn't notice it, no.
And, like, his parachute behind him is forming, like, the image of the clamshell.
Oh, no,
I
didn't notice that.
And he's in the same, like, gesture.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I'll have to check it out.
There's that, and then right in the middle of the page is this big phallic panel.
I'll have to definitely check it out.
Yeah.
I love a good phallus.
Oh, man. Who doesn't? It is, like, right there. It's like, boom, there's that, and then
Amazing.
Right up.
I love it.
Yep. So he was a good addition. What do you think of Etta Candy?
I hated her.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan.
Like,
I get the character. I'm just not a big fan of it.
I get what they were doing with that. Like, oh, I'm at a sorority and they have Greek letters. I read Greek. Mm-hmm. It's a little on the nose, but she was really annoying. If they ever made a movie, it'd be Rebel Wilson.
Yeah, I've heard the Pitch Perfect reference thrown around a lot. I haven't seen Pitch Perfect, but
I've seen the first one. It's a movie.
Why would you watch it?
Chelsea, I have a wife.
Okay, me too. Just to put that, this isn't like
this isn't a thing.
This is a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of her, and one critique on the internet is I've heard people take issue with how the Amazons body shamed people.
Oh yeah.
Which I thought is ridiculous because again, like the Amazons are not it's not the viewer focal point. Like the viewer isn't watching through the Amazons. So like what the Amazon says is not supposed to be like the right answer to anything that happens in this.
Yeah.
Like they're very flawed people, and the fact that they're living on an island of beautiful women in like the peak of physical perfection.
Right.
Of course, everyone else does not meet their standards.
Yeah.
So if they see someone that's overweight, they say like they're overweight.
Right.
Like comparatively, yes, they are. Because they're like the peak of physical excellence.
Yeah.
It's part of the story. Like he's calling it out. It's not they're not saying what they're doing is right. It's just how they would perceive the world. Yeah. They say, like, they're malformed and all that. And it's like, to them, yes, I suppose they would. Everyone would be.
Yeah. I was just on a roller coaster ride of emotion. Because I didn't... because as I was reading it, I took it exactly how you said. But then when you brought it up about body shaming, I'm like, yeah, why would they do that in there? But then you explained it again, I'm like, oh, of course.
Usually once a day, I really nail a point. The rest of it, just... nothing. Nothing worth listening to. I think one thing that really stuck out is this is not like the traditional Wonder Woman character. This is more of like kind of a rebellious young girl who's becoming like the Wonder Woman character that we know her as. Mm-hmm. Where, I mean, she's a lot more nurturing, for one. Mm-hmm. She's not really violent or aggressive at all. Right. She doesn't... I mean, she lifts a truck at one point. That's about as physical as she gets.
Yeah, there's feats of strength to show that she has super strength in it.
Yeah, but she doesn't fight anybody or anything. No. So it's really just kind of her journey becoming the character that we know about, which I think if I had one complaint about it, and it's kind of like not really a complaint, but like I want to see her take on like a real threat. This is all like kind of a personal conflict as opposed to like a earth-shattering threat. Yeah. Which it's like that's kind of cool to see. Yeah. In a big book like this, it's unexpected. There's no like big bad. There's Medusa, the Gorgon, who makes a very brief appearance, turns a couple people to stone, and then exits stage left.
She's out.
Doesn't fight her, doesn't do anything. She's gone. So yeah, like it's just kind of her coming to terms with realizing the Amazon's point of view isn't always right. She wants to rebel a bit and leave the island. She convinces her mother and the Amazons that, you know, their way isn't technically the right way. And then they go from there. It's like, all right, now let's start telling Wonder Woman. Yeah. We've got all this out of the way. Yeah. And I've heard that he wants to do 3 of them. So I think from there on it should get really interesting on what she's going to come across. I'm wondering if Yannick is going to continue on with 2 more.
That'd be cool if he did. I hope he would.
Yeah.
So what Morrison did was try to give his definitive take on Wonder Woman. She's a strong feminist figure. She's a healer. She's also not a pushover.
No. Promotes change in society.
Yeah, right.
Clears up narrow-minded viewpoints. Yeah. But still learns a bit along her way.
Yeah,
She's
exactly.
Not perfect, and it was interesting. It was an interesting take. It was a very low-key story for a very high-tier character.
Yeah. My overall view, it's not my favorite book that Morrison's ever done. Like, he kind of plays it straightforward. He does the Morrison thing where he incorporates... everything into it. But I feel like it's a safe play by Morrison. And I feel like Wonder Woman's been done maybe better, in my view, than in Wonder Woman Earth 1.
But, like, I'm always open to whatever the hell Grant wants to say. Like, I prefer him getting weird with it. Yeah. And to tell you the truth, I expected more weirdness out of it.
I almost did, too.
Like, when I heard it was offending people with, like, the bondage stuff and all that, I was like... oh man!
Yeah, I was ready for gimps and all that.
Yeah, but like, it played it pretty tasteful. Yeah. Like I had no problem with it. It's an island of women w'ho've never seen a man before. Yeah. Like, of course they would all be lesbians. Like, it's not a bad thing. It wasn't like a weird
they were
kinky
just
thing.
Yeah,
it's like, what else would they do?
Yeah, they would just love each other.
Yeah,
right.
And they're a very loving, nurturing society. Yeah. So, like, yeah, sure. And they don't ever, like, show it. They don't show, like, girls making out or anything.
No, they hint at, like, a big festive...
Bit of an orgy.
Yeah, but you never see it gratuitously.
You just see everyone smoking the cigarette afterwards.
And, like, spooning.
Yeah.
So, that was our takes on Wonder Woman. Maybe it wasn't the strongest entry in Morrison's Trinity that he's already given us, but I feel like it still has something to build on.
Yeah. It definitely lays the groundwork for something potentially awesome. Earth-shattering.
Yeah.
And, like, it's more background than we normally get for characters like this.
It's true.
Like, you'll often get it with Batman or Superman, so it was, I say it was refreshing. I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah. So that was Wonder Woman Earth 1. We also wrapped up All-Star Superman and Batman Arkham Asylum.
What a run.
What a ride we've been on.
Every time we conclude a Grant Morrison trilogy, I die a little inside because I know it's going to be at least 4 episodes before we do it all over again.
But let us know down below what you think, and...
Yeah, I mean, this has been out long enough. People have read it.
Yeah.
We're a little behind on the release date, but...
It gives us people time to catch up and read stuff.
Exactly.
We're always not on point.
And this is definitely a book that you have an opinion on.
Yeah.
So, let us know. What do you think of it?
Exactly. And until next time, where we tell you everything you want to know, but you didn't know you want to know about comics, I'm Short of the Max Extreme.
Ghost Hunter Dave.
And we'll see you next week.
On IMPERIUS REX. In normal attire.